Thanks, Pramod. I had forgotten to start the record, but it's done now. So I have a train nearby, and whenever you get bored, you'll get a train break. I will upload the recording on the WebEx. I also convert the same into a format which can go on YouTube, because I understand a lot of people are not able to see the recording on WebEx. The quality on WebEx, of course, is the best, which is another example of marketing. They obviously don't want their recording to be seen at other places. So they give the choice for converting the format, but on YouTube it is just acceptable, it's not so good. But I guess both are needed, so I will do both. I'm all suited, booted, ready to go because I have a presentation somewhere at 10:30, so I'll wind up at 9:30 and rush for some campus work. But before 12 midnight, everything will be up on all the portals, so you will be able to check it there. I'm not sure when the WhatsApp group will come into existence. The last time it was almost delayed by 10 days, but we'll operate through the portal. And I've already shared my number. Anybody wants to WhatsApp me or ask me anything, please feel free to do it at any time. Generally, the feedback on the assignments I give within 24 hours. And I hope that your assignments will keep flowing in. So that I had written it earlier, I'll put the number again. It's there at the end of my presentation as well. So just keep the assignments coming in. Okay. So before we make a formal start now, the only tip I have from all of you is that if you want to understand marketing, you need to enjoy this course. So feel free to point it out to me whenever it gets boring. And I'll only answer by saying bear it out with me, because it's your choice to get bored or to enjoy. Therefore, just try and enjoy to the extent you can. Okay, so today's session will cover the basic marketing model, the 4 P's of marketing, so something that Kotler made extremely popular everywhere, and this is all that people know about marketing, and how it has evolved to a more contemporary SAVE model. And then we'll talk about net customer delivered value. In the next session, I will take up segmentation, targeting, positioning, the BCG matrix, and the customer lifetime value and acquisition cost. So these per se will almost cover your entire marketing perspective in terms of whatever basic concepts need to be known. The third session I will take up for the sales process, which will be somewhere covering a little bit of business development as well. And then in the last session, we'll look at the case study and we'll take some individual presentations. So that's how this will work. I believe a lot of you have operations backgrounds, and personally also I come from operations background, having first worked in my corporate career for almost 8 years in operations before I moved to sales and marketing. And from personal experience, I can tell you that all those who have operations experience can apply mathematics far better and hence are exceptional at marketing when it happens. So my graph in the marketing space was reasonably successful from corporate parameters. And therefore, be rest assured that operations background only helps in understanding marketing better. So what we'll do today is understand that acquiring customers is an investment that every company needs to make. Determining the ROI, which is the linkage to the finance side. Then there is a cost of losing the customer. And then there are some basic tools and techniques, including the branding part. So let's come to the first concept, that is the basic marketing model. As I told you, below every slide, the entire notes are given for this first presentation because this is the key, I believe. Understanding this takes a lot of things much easier as you go ahead. So in its basic format, as you see here, for any marketing to happen, there has to be a seller and a buyer. And we say sellers and buyers because if there's a single seller, it will become a monopoly. And a monopoly is more of an exception where buyers don't have a choice but to buy. So if you look at the railways in India, it's a monopoly. If you look at the electricity supply in most parts of this country, it's a monopoly. And to see how differences happen, consider telecom, which was a monopoly earlier of the BSNLs and MTNLs, and the way things have changed as competition was allowed with the zillions of private players which have come in different circles. So that is more the actual marketing space rather than being in pure monopoly. Then we say that there has to be something that the seller has to provide to the buyer, which is an offering, and the buyer must have a need for that. And assuming that we are no more in the barter system domain, money becomes the way of reimbursing the seller for their market offering. Then we have information that the seller has to keep giving to the buyer, more for awareness about that market offering, and that is called communicative information or advertising. And the buyer closes the loop to the seller by giving a feedback. So that's how the basic marketing model works. Now, a couple of questions so that I can understand what are your beliefs right now. Does advertising get correlated directly to brand building? So my question is advertising correlated to brand building directly? Okay, so there are a lot of answers here, depends on the channel, may or may not be. So I find a lot of clear yeses first, then one no from Anish, and then a lot of people who are tending to be politically correct, which means they leave the gray open. Yeah, so this is, I think, what happens to working professionals over a time. We always create our escape route first before we take a decision. Okay, so let's put down the answers here, and I guess this is the first myth that you need to break. The role of advertising is primarily awareness of product. Brand building is a function of So you see that definition there, it changes every time I write it because the aim is not to learn definitions but to understand what we mean. So basically brand only gets built over a period of time because it is only a function of a long-term usage and a consistency where the customer keeps comparing the performance of after usage versus the promises made at the time of purchase. So you can correlate that with yourself right now. You all are in the L1 course. You paid the money a couple of months back, and every time you do a course, you compare. What did I pay the money for, and did I get value? So that continuous comparison, if it is consistent, it meets expectations and happens over a period of time, is when you start trusting that brand more. That's brand building. Advertising is primarily only creating awareness. So where is that you can say the line between advertising and brand building? So the only line that is there is that if you have two products to choose from and you have seen the advertising of one, then you will tend to take that compared to the other, all other parameters being the same. Not that you trust it more, but just because your brain says you heard it somewhere is good enough to give it that little edge. So to that extent it aids sales, but it does not create a brand. An example that comes to my mind is the Vivel franchise of ITC. The amount of money they have spent in advertising of that brand or that name, Vivel, for the soaps and other things, is probably far greater than the entire revenue they have ever generated from that franchise. So, you know, it's not a function of purely advertising. That's the first myth. Now, I used the word here, customer expectation. So another important myth. Can you have a satisfied customer? So again, I have some clear answers. Abhijit says no. Manoj says yes. Shikhar says yes. And then all those in betweens. Some extent, maybe with conditions, conditions apply, asterisk marks, and so on. So that's one good thing in marketing, that all answers are right, because it's always case specific and it's always in the gray. But the answer primarily is no. God has not made that DNA where a customer can get satisfied. And therefore, it will be fighting nature if we say that we can have a satisfied customer. Okay, so you can't have a satisfied customer. I'll give you an example. You've been using your mobile phone for ages from the same operator, and every time you go to pay your monthly rental, you don't do it happily. You give a few bad words, but yet you do it. So does that give you some answer? Okay, let me put it in a different manner. How many people understand Hindi here? Okay, several. And those who don't, they will understand from what I write here. So try writing this word customer in Hindi. Not the meaning, just the word. Got it? So this will always help you remember that a customer is designed by God like this. And therefore, there is no way you can satisfy a customer. And everybody in marketing talks of only one thing nowadays, customer satisfaction. So we are almost wanting to change nature, and we've always seen what happens then. We have all this pollution happening, so there is pollution in marketing also now. And the end results are not very great, which is why everybody believes that we understand marketing, but nobody likes to take that responsibility, because those targets are the most difficult. I'm making it very easy for you. That one thing which creates trouble is customer satisfaction, so don't even try to satisfy the customer. And yes, Ravindra, we'll answer that question in today's session itself. Why does a customer who is not happy keep coming back again and again? I gave you an example of your mobile operator, and you need to now give me from that example the answer. Why do you keep going back again and again every month if every month you pay and you give him bad words? Yes, so you've all given the answer, the choice. So you only have comparative satisfaction. The answer is I am unhappy with one, but I am unhappier with the other, and therefore wherever I am least unhappy, I will keep taking that. There is no customer who wants a better option always. You know, they say in Hindi again, the dil always keeps asking for more. So if you give 2 free, they'll ask for 4 free. If you give 4 free, they'll ask for 40 free. But they'll always want something more. Therefore, you look for the least unhappy situation and you're okay with that. And it happens everywhere. I think you start getting clarity now of how things work in marketing. So you don't have a satisfied customer, you only have a comparatively satisfied customer, and comparative with respect to the different brands that are available in the market. We will study that in a model that is going to come up as NCDV soon, and we'll explain that very, very mathematically. Then we have these words quality, which Manisha has put there. Again, I'll ask a question. What is the quality of Superman? Okay, so there are just too many qualities over there. So you can answer my next question. So I guess you'll understand what quality means now. See, first of all, as far as the customer is concerned, whatever you show in a standardized format is all that they recognize. And look how it's been built up. So if you read the Superman magazines, which we read comics and all that, every time this fellow has to do something which is great, there is a small strip in the middle which says he quickly went and changed his dress. And the poor fellow doesn't even have a choice to say, I want to wear black today, or I want to wear yellow today. I'm bored, or it's gone to the laundry, or I don't like wearing my underwear on top now. So he doesn't have all those choices. It has to be the same thing all the time. Okay, and when he doesn't have that much time also, then he doesn't even want anyone to know that Superman is around. Second question now. Is quality defined by the customer or manufacturer? Okay, so again, differences of opinion. Let's clarify that. The quality cannot be defined by the customer. And the answer is given above. You don't have a satisfied customer. Whatever you give, the requirement is more. Therefore, you can't have quality defined by a customer, because anything which is variable cannot be quality. Quality is defined standards. Therefore, it cannot be defined by the customer. Only the manufacturer can define that standard. Operations guys would understand that pretty easily. You would have an ISO 9000 and you have all these CMM levels and this and that. They define certain things and we put them in our advertising saying this is what you should expect. So the customer knows what to expect but always wants more. I'll give you another very simple example. What do we say when we go to buy a Chinese product? What does a Chinese product signify? See, everybody is understanding it very fast. Cheap, non-durable, not original, okay, low cost, poor quality, no guarantee, no warranty. If you just read this, people will say nobody wants to ever buy a Chinese product. But it is the first thing that gets cleared off the shelves. So despite every customer saying that a Chinese product is cheap, poor in quality from their standards, everyone goes with the same hope that I'll get 5 in the price of 1 and at least one of them will work as good as the original, or all 5 together will work better than the original. Okay, so whatever we may say on our face, we tend to always do what suits us best, and Chinese products therefore are in huge demand always. You have to put sanctions and embargoes to stop them, but otherwise people will always want that. You know, look at how the seller also sells it. This is Chinese, don't come back to me if it doesn't work. So you know, it's a classic case where the salesman in everything else is trying to sell. In a Chinese product, he is trying to not sell. He gives you all the bad things about it, and still the customer says, I only want this. You give it to me, I'll manage the rest. That's branding. Over a period of time, the consistency of usage that people have had with Chinese products have told them that it is real good value for money, and therefore they will keep buying it again and again. Okay. So I guess we've understood quality now. Won't delve on it too much more because we tend to get into more of discussions like this without covering all the concepts. Any questions still here? Is anyone not enjoying so far? Okay, so Manus has a question here. Customer plays a big role in quality too. I may be wrong, but need your input. Okay. So Manus, I'll put it like that customer feedback is taken at all times just to ensure that you are in a position to comparatively satisfy the customer. And to that extent, everybody is linked. But The quality finally has to be defined by the manufacturer only. Anyway, today when we do the last part, which is the net customer delivered value, you will get your clear answer on this. Okay, now the last part of this model, which is feedback, the most important part of this model. So my questions on feedback. What are the different methods people use, customers use for feedback? Surveys, online, mouth to mouth, emails, satisfaction form, toll-free numbers. Okay, so that breaks one more myth. All these methods that you've written above are only feedback for the customer themselves. They are not feedback for the company. And I'll explain that to you. As far as the feedback to the company is concerned, yes, sales is the most important feedback. So sales going up or down defines whether the feedback is positive or negative. And the second most important feedback is silence. Okay, and I'll explain that as well. How is silence a very important feedback? Look at this slide and you'll understand a few things. Okay, so many of you are married, I guess. What would you prefer? A silent spouse or someone whose voice is continuously heard, whether good or bad? So I think I'm going to give you a very important tip to how to handle your marriage as well. Most of you are looking for silence. When you start enjoying the noise is when you will be really happy. That silence is very dangerous. So silence is really dangerous. The first part, when you paid for your course, here the marriage between Sunstone and the student is the most hunky-dory part. That's why we call it the honeymoon period, the first short part. Then a lot is being said and nothing is being heard. Gets escalated upwards as well, but again nothing is heard. And once that hearing stops, then there are no complaints, because even if you want to talk back, then nobody is interested. If you look at the customer service around, so to put it in the practical scenario, if you look at all the customer service that is happening around, all these calls where you can call and say anything, I don't think many of us have ever got very great solutions from customer service. So out of the 100 calls that they receive, 90 calls are only venting anger, and probably only 10 calls genuinely ask for some service to be done. So whenever you are not feeling so good, you want to just, you know, get it out of you, giving as many bad words or whatever you want. And if someone in front is just hearing that politely, that's good enough. Let's put it the other way around. Why is noise better than silence? Okay, so that's why you need noise, because noise implies that the customer still has hope, they believe in you, there is a relationship which still exists. You don't want to engage with a stranger. So when you give up on something, you just forget it and move on. Nobody has the time to engage. The feedback is a costly process, not even for the manufacturer, but also for the customer. You need time to give a feedback. You you do a lot of effort to give a feedback. So that's how this feedback mechanism works. The last part of that question to be answered was that you put all those things over there, surveys and online and forms and all that, and the answer I gave you was that all those are to give yourself a feedback. What does that mean? Okay, so I'll again give you an example. You go to a McDonald's restaurant, everything is great, and then you have a tiff with one of the waiters who misbehaves, or with the restaurant manager who has done some wrong billing or something like that. Till now you were finding the food very tasty, everyone was enjoying, everything was good. At this point of time where you are angry, what is going to be your feedback? So we tend to have as humans a very, very strong bias of all good and all bad. Okay, so we are only politically correct when we get time to think. Otherwise, if a teacher is good, however bad he may be, everything is good. He comes on time also, he teaches well also, he makes it enjoyable also, he does everything well. But if someone is bad, then everything is bad. However punctual he may be, he is always late. However good he gives the notes, his notes are bad. Okay, it's the same with any phone that you have. If an Apple iPhone is good, then it's always good, whatever happens, even if it bends or warps or breaks. And if a Xiaomi is a bad phone, then it's always bad, because it's the way we look at things. If we are in a good mood, everything around it looks positive. If we are not, everything around it looks negative. So what these forms and surveys do is to break down into parameters. And make the customer think. So if you are now told that this is a form and do it, you have enjoyed the taste of the burger, so probably on taste you might not put very good, but you won't put very bad. You will say okay. Okay, so depending on mood, people will understand what it is. But basically, when you put a feedback on a form, even if you are very angry, they make you start seeing different parameters on which some things were okay. And as you start cooling down, you start saying that, okay, this was fine, this was fine. And your end result at the end would be, as long as that waiter or fellow just says sorry and says, sir, next time we'll take care, or the fellow comes and gives you one free ice cream cone to your kid and says, then you're going to say, they're very nice, they take care even if things are wrong. So, the changes happen pretty fast. And that's where it is important. It really does not give any great input to the company itself on its service or not service. That's all humbug that we keep seeing around. The main purpose of this is to make customers break down into various parameters their assessment of things and start believing that there are some things which are right as well. Okay. So if we start saying 80% of the things are good, then we suddenly start feeling that it's not so bad after all. I do get this, I do get that. Again, coming back to my very first example, when you go to pay the bill, you're not in a very happy mood because you are supposed to pay. And nobody likes to pay. And therefore at that time you're giving some bad words for the sort of services that you didn't get or which you expected. Once you reach there, you pay, and that burden is off you and your mood is a little better. Then you start saying, okay, at least this is good, at least that is good. It does not break off very easily. It gives me much longer service. Okay, and you start seeing some positive things as well. So breaking down those parameters and making the customer give feedback to themselves is the main role of all those written surveys. Again, the last part of today, the NCDV model, will again explain to you how mathematically it works towards the brand of the product. Yes, we'll cover that towards the last part. Okay, any questions still here? Okay, I need to go a little faster. I have to run. So I will just move ahead. Ravindra, your question will get answered today itself. So what is the problem statement really? We want to have a legally profitable organization with comparatively happy or satisfied customers. Okay, you can never have a satisfied or happy customer, but you can have a comparatively happy or satisfied customer where you are better than the competition for your own target segment. I've used the words legal and profitable. Legal because if things are illegal, you always have a sword hanging, and when it can cut through the whole system is a question mark. Profitable, again a debatable word in today's time where a lot of funding is happening and the big players like the Flipkarts and all are also still bleeding. Traditionally, still the question is how to keep it profitable, because only a profitable organization will be able to eventually keep the customers as well as the employees happy. That's basic natural principles, and whenever we try to break away from nature, something or the other ends up, and then we'll say that the bubble got burst. Anyway, it's not a topic that I'm opening for discussion, otherwise we'll spend an hour on that itself. Let's move on to the next one, that is the 4 P's of marketing. These are traditionally what all of us have always heard: the product, place, price, promotion. Okay. What should be their sequence? What should be the sequence of the 4 P's? Okay, so product, what to sell, price, how much to sell for, place, where to sell, promotion, how to sell. So this is how it is. You first have a product, so unless you know what you are going to sell, you really can't move forward. Then you have a price, so based on your target segment, where you are going to do it, how you are going to do it, you have a price. Then you have a place, how do you make it accessible to your customer? And then promotion is how do you communicate all this information about product, price and place to the customer, which is the promotion. A little bit of confusion sometimes happens between price and place, because many a times the place is predefined that this is where I want to do it, this is where I can open a shop, and hence the other things will be put into place, but that is an exception. In most circumstances, given a free hand at starting a business, this is the chronological or logical way of going about it. What is the product? Do I have a target segment where it is affordable for that target to buy my product? How will I make it accessible to them? And then how to communicate all this information. Now we come to the next part, which is more important, that why does these 4 P's actually is better understood as in the SAVE concept, that is solution. So when we talk of product, what is the difference between a product and a service? So mostly it is tangible and intangible. How do you Most of you are from the IT space. How do you classify a software product? Tangible or intangible? So you see there is a lot of confusion there. Okay. If you look at Windows 10, it is a software product, an operating system which you use with your hardware. And by definition, software is something that cannot be seen. The CD on which it comes may be seen, but if you download it from the internet, how do you see it? So there is no visibility there. There's no touch over there. Okay, and the CD can be the product. The software cannot be the tangible part. Therefore, as time has changed, as the internet, the IT industry, the technology has changed the world, understanding these 4 P's with respect to the current methods and the parts of the society is more important. So it's easier to say solution. Solution covers product and service, as well as it gets in a time factor. Okay, so solution is long term. As long as the product is being used, there is a solution. And IT industry basically has given us more of these words. There's a lot of IT all around. You talk of a solution now where you go in, give the product. Somebody seems to have gone on unmute. Okay, please check who's not muted and kindly mute yourself. Okay, therefore, when you look at the software industry, you start talking of a solution now. That this is the time Okay, so back on. You all hear me and see the screen? Fine. So there will be one more disconnection because I am on generator backup now. When the light comes back, it will again get disconnected once. Okay, so that was product versus solution. Next we'll go on to is place versus access. So if you see here again, yeah, so it's over a period of time where we are talking of the solution over the complete lifetime of usage. Okay, okay, so just to repeat, product versus solution again. Product is generally seen at the point of purchase only. One, the solution is replacing the product and service. So a product also can be called a solution, and service also can be called a solution. Second, the solution is talking about the complete usage time. So if you talk with respect to any software, we only don't talk of the development of the software, but we also talk of its maintenance, and we have contracts which are long term, that the entire solution is right from its development to the maintenance to the upgradation and so on. So a solution is a far better way of explaining than simply the product. Secondly, when you start talking of solution, and which we will also take up in the value part next, or let me take that straight away. When you talk of solution, you can move from the concept of price to the concept of value. Now this is very, very important. I hope everybody is paying attention and can hear me. Hear me? Okay, so it's all well at my end, and this part is very, very important. Please hear me out. When we move from product to solution, then basically we are able to talk of value rather than price. The product tends to talk about the MRP or the price, the money that a customer pays to get the right to use or the ownership changes. But the value has nothing to do with the price. The value is the benefit that the customer derives from the usage of the product. So if you will see in the current times, people don't like to talk about price, they like to talk about value. It is why a product like an Apple iPhone at the highest price point still delivers very, very high value to the customers, and therefore people want that. So it's not just status symbol now to go for a higher priced product, but it's also about value deliverable. I'll give you another example. So you use an iPhone because you can see a lot of value in it from the different features that it has. But consider giving it as a gift to someone, maybe a very old man or somebody who has no usage for a phone except for calling purpose only. if you, how much ever you can tell that fellow that I spent 60,000 or 70,000 for this phone for you, he will only consider you a fool. He'll say, my 5,000 rupee phone gives me much better sound when I talk rather than this that you handed me, where I'm more confused rather than finding it easy. Okay, so value is a lot about usage and not just the price. Okay, therefore, instead of price, we are not now talking of value and not talking of the cost to the customer, but we are talking of the value derived by the customer from usage. In terms of solution, we are moving it beyond product. In terms of place, because place was always signified as something which was physically available, a marketplace sort of, and now everything has moved online and virtual. So rather than saying marketplace, we call it access. Okay, access. So computers 24/7, access to a shop, access to a lot of things. So access instead of place, value instead of price, and education instead of promotion. So even earlier, what was the role of promotion? To make people aware of the product, the price, and the place. So rather than promotion, we say education. So important thing to remember, so solution versus product is a better way of understanding current concept. Access versus place again is a better way to explain it. Education versus product promotion is again a better way to you can explain it. But price to value is completely different. Okay, so price to value is completely different. Price is the money paid by the customer. Value is the monetary benefit derived by customers over the usage of solution or its lifetime. Does every solution have to deliver value? What about solutions that do not deliver value in short term? Atul, can you give me an example of what kind of solution you are talking of that does not deliver value in short term? So first part of your question, does every solution have to deliver value? Yes, it has to deliver value. Second, solution that do not deliver value in short term. No, insurance does deliver value. Insurance is basically risk management. And that risk management starts as soon as you take the policy. How to calculate value like cost accounting? Absolutely. We are getting into the mathematics after this, so you will understand that. So product versus solution or service versus solution is just an add-on, as I told you. When we are saying solution, it is is all the features of the product and service that the customer will derive benefit from usage over the lifetime of usage. So that time factor comes in. Just taking a product or service and not using it is a waste of money. Child education plan. It's not a postponed thing. It is also an immediate thing. Instead of putting money and saving it up slowly for that education, you are calling it an education plan where you started saving from now and you get it at a certain point of time that you use it. So in fact, again, it's a good explanation of solution, because the solution in entirety is when that education plan matures and not just at the time of purchase of the plan. Okay, Ravindra, service and product were not the same, and they are not the same even now. For example, when you go to a restaurant, the food that you eat is a product, but service is how they lay the table, how the waiter serves it to you, the ambience of the restaurant and all that. So traditionally it was what is tangible and what was intangible, and because softwares came into a domain where the tangible and intangible became difficult to explain, therefore the new method of explanation now is solution. To put it in a little lighter note, something which is, I think, important for all of you to understand is the word business development. So whenever we are not able to explain something in a more focused manner, broad-base it into a big basket. So business development can be a marketing guy also, business development can be a sales guy also, business development can be anything which increases the business. And it becomes a generic sort of word. Like that solution can be applied to anything because it becomes more. We will understand that in the third session a little more, of which part of BD is sales, which part of BD is marketing. And so basically what we are trying to do is understanding in the current environment that it is around, and maybe 10 years from now the environment will again change and we'll need to understand it from that perspective. Okay, any questions still here? Okay, so let's get into the last part, which is the mathematics part now, which is net customer delivered value. So we'll get into the maths now, which will be the actual application of whatever we do. And your first assignment is going to be related to this. For the first assignment, please understand, I am interested in the mathematics, that is the numbers. It is going to be very difficult to put numbers. Trying to put a product value in terms of money is not as easy as it looks. But once you start doing it, you start understanding how it is easier to make a decision and more logical to make a decision when you can actually put numbers. So let me start from the more easy part. What we've done here is we've said that there is a model called the net customer delivered value, and in those 4 P's, the product value is the value we are talking of, and the in the 4 P's, the P for price is the monetary cost versus the V for value is the product value. Or instead of product, we can say solution value. Okay. So price is equal to monetary cost customer Okay, so P for price is equal to the monetary cost paid by customer, and V for value is the product or service value or solution value. That is the monetary benefit derived by customer over the usage of solution on its lifetime. Sunil, it's not the reverse. This is how it is. And this is the only place where the 4 P's and the SAVE concept digress very dramatically compared to each other. So coming back to the previous slide, I'll start asking the questions so you'll know how to put the numbers. How do you put a monetary cost number? How do you put a number to the monetary cost? Okay, so this part is pretty clear. Everybody will understand it, and it is, the price paid for the product. Anything that you see around, this is the one thing which is very clearly visible to all, and so there will be no problem in putting this. Therefore, when you apply this model, I will suggest you start from here. That is, first you put the monetary cost, right? Then there is a time cost. What is a time cost? So cost is all those things spent by customers. And value is all the things derived by customers. And we have to put everything in currency, rupees, dollars, whatever. Please do not put ratings over there, because the ratings will, say if you put 1 or a 2 or a 3 versus a 50 rupees or 100 rupees, you will suddenly see that the ratings tend to make the model wrong. Okay, so it has to be monetary. So how do you put a time cost? Okay, so you can put a time spent by customer in monetary value. That time can be in terms of researching the product. The time can be in terms of going to the shop and getting that product. Okay, and therefore there will be some variation in time with respect to the products. Now, product to product or solution to solution, the weightage of a particular factor will be small or high. For example, in most of the hello. Okay, so in most of the cases, the time cost and energy cost is not going to be very significant. But to give you an example, suppose I talk of a purchase of a house. The time cost suddenly becomes very significant. So when you are going to get delivery of that house is a very important parameter for selecting or for the purchase decision. If the delivery gets delayed by a couple of years, the cost over there of that time is very significant. Clear? Okay, so suppose a house, you have two choices to buy a house. One house costs you 50 lakhs, the other house costs you 55 lakhs. But the one which costs you 50 lakhs will be available 2 years later than the one that costs you 55 lakhs. So the money you will spend in waiting for those 2 years to start deriving the value will become the time cost. And essentially the cost for you will become higher than 55 lakhs for that 50 lakh house. A purchase decision can be taken in favor of the 55 lakh house because it is available 2 years earlier. So if you see in the real estate industry, whatever is a delayed possession becomes, so you can call it a time value or you can call it a time cost. Either you take it on the left side or the right side. Here all the costs are being put in one place and all the values in another place. Another way of looking at time value, a product which will run for 4 years versus a product which will work for 6 years. Either you can add that value into the product value or solution value, or you can add that time cost to the one which will work for lesser time. So basically all the parameters will get covered in this model. You can use it whichever way you want to put it. Yeah, so Mithun, that's the tricky part and which needs to be done, that is putting rupees for this time cost. So suppose I use the same example, let me take a more simpler example. I have one place which, a product which I can buy, shop which is just in my own colony, and there is another product for which I have to go 5 kilometers. So for 1 hour extra that I will spend to get there, what monetary value does that 1 hour have for me? For every individual, the costs and the values will differ. And that's another key learning for NCDV, that it is not the same for everyone. It differs from individual to individual. Someone who has the time available, it may be zero cost. Someone for whom time is very important, it will be a bigger cost. And this same concept will tell us why segmentation, targeting and positioning is very important. Yes, you have to compare the options and derive the time cost. So that's another thing which you have preempted, Atul. Basically, this is a comparative model. And therefore, it does not matter whether the cost of one is 5 and the cost of the other one is. विजय को फोन कर दो, मुझे अभी आधा घंटा लगेगा. विजय को फोन कर दो, हाँ मुझे अभी आधा घंटा लगेगा. So you need to mention over there that, sorry, break of thought. What I was saying, you are comparing two products, and hence it doesn't matter whether you put 5 and 55 or whether you put 505 and 555. The difference in the two is only important because that is what allows you to compare the two options. So comparison is important. The difference between the two is important, not the absolute value. Yes, you can add the cost of travel, the cost of parking, and so on. So good. I am seeing that you are trying to get the hang of it. And that's going to be the critical thing. Please do it without fear. Don't worry whether it's right or wrong. Just give your logic and put a value there. Do not try to put ratings. Do not try to be politically correct. Do not try to keep gray areas. The more clear, the more focused you are in what you put there, you will be able to do it. So it is not subjective, Manas. It is very, very objective, and it is depending on the situation of each individual. But as soon as you understand that, it will be very clear why segmentation, targeting, positioning is important, and how you can know that this kind of customer is your best suited customer for your product and why the other one is not. Okay, so then you have a time cost. The third, you have the energy cost, which is very similar to time cost. So time cost, energy cost is energy spent So energy converted into rupees, again, I think someone gave an example just earlier. The fuel spent in going and getting that product, that's an energy cost. Okay. The effort that you have done in walking down to get something is an energy cost, and one of the ways of calculating this is also an opportunity cost. You would have studied opportunity cost in detail with Aniket's class, and many times you will see that linkage here now, that one of the methods of calculating is always the opportunity cost, which is that in that same time, in the same amount of energy that you put there, if you had done something else, what would be the benefit you derived otherwise? Okay. I will show you an example also, so it will become more easy. But let's understand this first. Okay. I will take psychic cost later because it is a little more difficult to understand. Okay, let's come to the values now. So you have a product value. Now my submission here is, again, please remember I've put all the notes down, so you will find it pretty easy to understand. Secondly, my submission here is, please do not get biased by cost. When you put product value, assume the product to be compared, do not have names and price tag. Okay, so you have to remove your bias as well when you take a product value. Suppose you have two cars, you have a Creta and you have a Ford EcoSport. Look at all the features of Creta and give it a product value. That is, what is the value you will derive over using the Creta for say 5 years, and what is the monetary value you will derive over using the Ford EcoSport for 5 years. Please do not bias it with the cost. The cost will come in the monetary price. Several times I've seen decisions changing when you use a proper mathematical tool, because product value sometimes goes much higher, and when you then finally look at the costs and everything, you realize it's better. In fact, the Xiaomi has worked only because of its high product value versus the cost. So keep that thing independent. Every time you take up one parameter, only look at that and don't look at the other things. So product value, like here I've shown, the internet usage, the social media usage, music, games, phone calls, emails, texting, watching a TV or a film, reading a big book there, the camera. So there are what kind of features as an individual you use will give you more or less product value for that product. Yes, fuel efficiency is very, very important in that value there. The second is services value. This is not service value. So product, service, solution is all covered up. Services is after sales service. So what services basically does, or after sales service does, is increase the life of the product. Give it more usage time for you. Give it less downtime. That is the services value. For product like a burger or something, there will be no services value probably, because everything has been covered in the product value. There is no after sales services because it's eaten and digested. Then you have a personnel value. Personnel and not personal. Personnel stands for human resource. Value derived by customer from the interaction of company representative. And this is another role, therefore, of the customer relationship, CRM as we understand it in marketing terms, where people are trained to service customers better. And you will find this is, in many times, if you recollect yourself, you prefer to go to a shop where the shopkeeper is very friendly and gives you much better service, despite charging a 5 to 10% premium, rather than going to a place where people are very, very unfriendly. In fact, the government versus the private organizations have primarily had an issue only with respect to the personnel value. Okay. Now I'll come to the image value and the psychic cost. Two things that go hand in hand. So image value or brand value or trust. Okay, so now this is the critical part, and maybe by giving you some questions and examples you'll understand. So it's very difficult to put a value to a goodwill or something, but I'll put it like that. Suppose you have a phone which you want to buy. There is an unknown brand called, let's say, some Chinese product, okay, Zen or something like that, versus a Samsung phone. Both of them look exactly the same. Both of them have the same features. Both of them have everything outlined which is exactly the similar. One of them, the unknown one is at 100 rupees and the known one is at 120 rupees. Which one will you buy? So, unknown, no trust, okay. So all other things being the same, there is a chance that you will still buy at 120. It implies for the trust you are willing to pay 20% premium. Okay. So for the trust you are willing to pay 20% premium. Okay. Obviously, some people might say that I am willing to only pay 5 rupees more. So unless the price difference is only 5 rupees, I will not go for the known one. I will go for the unknown one even if it is 5 rupees less. It will also depend product to product. So a product which has very less impact on you, you might just look for the cheapest product, immaterial of whether a branded product is available or not. So that is how you try to give a value. What is that price at which your decision will change? Maybe 130. So this differential is the image value or brand value that you are willing to give. Remember, every cost, every value. Okay. Now let's come to psychic cost. The psychic cost is almost the same thing. It is the cost of decision making. Okay. So it's pretty similar to image value. It can have a little different cost structures to it. The psychic cost is cost of decision making, which means you want to shift responsibility somewhere. Okay. I'll give you an example. Would you take something to eat from a stranger easily. Now let me change the situation. That same stranger is standing in the premises of a temple and calling it prasad. See how the situation has changed from a complete no to a complete yes, right? Because suddenly the responsible person for that decision is God. You are just assuming that being on those premises, this fellow is giving you something which is acceptable. I have seen diabetic people having sweets in the name of prasad, and I have seen people in the family who, in fact, force a fellow, this is prasad, have it. And the same person will give all sorts of bad words if otherwise that poor diabetic fellow touches a sweet somewhere else. So, that's what a psychic cost. Belief, right? And it has a huge meaning everywhere. I'll give you another example. There are two restaurants. One restaurant has 20 people sitting, another restaurant has 2 people sitting. There is no table available in the one which has 20 people sitting, but table will get available easily in maybe a few minutes. You will find the line will keep accumulating where 20 people are sitting. Only because it is assumed that if other people are going and taking this and preferring this, therefore this is the place to go. Go to a marriage, the counter where most people are, that counter accumulates even more people. Every person wants to take the same thing that everybody is wanting to take. It also gets wasted the most because most people don't like it. Why the first few liked it, nobody knows. But everybody wants to take what others also want to take. It is just not wanting to take the responsibility of the decision. Because if something goes wrong, then whom do you blame? Check a railway counter. If there are 4 rows, one with the least people will tend to attract more crowd over there. But if there is a row with 0 people, nobody goes there. Everybody wants to go to the least people row where the least count is not 0. Because if I am the first to go where other people are standing in other rows, it means either they are all fools or I am a fool. So the method is always go into the least populated row, then ask the other person, why is that row empty? And then all the people around will say, I don't know why that is empty. And if by chance one fool out of all goes to that empty place and the work starts happening there, then all these other fools who are standing here will en masse try to go over there, even if their number is already coming at the previous place. And that's all part of understanding marketing. And the more you put it down into numbers, you will understand why things sell and why things don't sell. You can see it reflected into advertising, where a lot of products which are unknown, the line is added down, a Tata product, suddenly the psychic cost becomes 0. So as soon as you say a Tata product, the psychic cost becomes 0. Whenever you are going to buy something, you are looking at reviews. How many people have said it is good or bad? Even if all those reviews are concocted, it lowers your psychic cost. Okay. So someone asked the question, how do I put it into value? Again, probably the answer is similar to the image value. What is the amount which will make you change a decision favor of number? So to wind it up, what is the buying process? We start with a product of choice. Then evaluate other products which may be compared with a view again Okay, so this is how it flows, and I hope everybody agrees. Whenever we go for a buying process, we have a product of choice. So if you are going to buy a say a television, so you're already more or less made up that LG is what you will take. Then you say that maybe Samsung, maybe Sony are also something that come under that same set that I want to take. And you keep comparing the features from the product of choice always, with the view always of justifying whatever you had decided in the first place. Only when certain things prove far better in something else, which was not your original choice, is when you change your choice. Okay? Was that clear, or do you want me to repeat? Okay. So I'll repeat it once more for the few who didn't understand. Understand your own buying process. Whenever you go to buy something, let's say you're going to buy a car, you want an SUV, you already first make up a main product of choice. Let's say you're saying I am going to buy a Scorpio. You're almost fixated that I want to buy a Scorpio, but such a big decision cannot be taken without evaluating other things. So what are the other options that are already there in your mind? You can look at probably an Innova, you can probably look at a Fortuner, you can look at various other products, but you will select 2, 3 and you will say I'll try to take them. The chances that Innova, Fortuner are only looked at to say that it's too costly, it doesn't fit, it's not worthwhile for all this. And then there can be a case where you actually ride the Innova versus the Scorpio and you say this is far better to drive, there is less body roll, people appreciate me more in this, my family gives more value to me if I buy this product. And only when all your justification for your original product of choice fails, only then that you change your choice. So changing a choice of a product from anyone is not so easy, which is why established products, however poor they may be, their product value, they score on services, they score on image, they score on psychic cost, and new products are not easy to sell. Okay. So that's as far as today's session is concerned, and the assignment that you will have an assignment on NCDV. Please put the values I will accept all assignments by Friday without any penalty, so don't worry on that. By Friday also, if you all send it, it's fine. There is no worry on that. I will put the recording by late night because I have to rush for a presentation and I'm getting late already. And I'll return home by sometime late evening, so I'll put the recording after that. I am not putting any sample right now because that tends to bias. I will put this PPT, it has all these slides below. The format is the same. Take the 4 values, take the 4 costs. NCDV is equal to total customer value minus total customer cost. Comparative model, therefore absolute values not important, only the difference in between products is important. NCDV can be negative or positive. If negative, lesser negative is better. If positive, higher positive. Yes, I will also be putting this Word document over there on the portal, so you can see all that as well. So I will put the Word document on the portal, I'll put the presentation on the portal, I'll put the recording on the portal, and I will also convert it into a YouTube format and put it on the YouTube. Still have any doubts? Feel free to call, write, WhatsApp at any time. I don't think that the marketing group has been activated so far on WhatsApp, but you can connect me at any time. Again, the only thing I recommend for this course, kindly keep doing your assignments. Do it independently with your original thought. Don't worry whether it's right or wrong, and please be bold. Try not to look at politically correct messages or shades of gray. Please be bold. The more bold you are, the faster you will learn, and I'll give you feedback as quickly as possible. So thank you everyone. Sorry I have to rush, so I won't be very formal right now, and we'll catch up again in the next session.